Namaste. Welcome to Maithreya.
Namaste.
A very, very warm welcome, Dr. Sunitha. Well, folks, talking about Dr. Sunitha, I might be short of words because she's a dear friend whom I can bank on, for leadership, for mentorship. Maybe I can still call Dr. Sunitha as a 3 a.m. friend. Just pick up the phone and talk to her. She is that influential or spiritual or even intuitive, I can say. Thank you, Dr. Sunitha. Thanks a lot for coming in today's platform. Maithreya, it says, own your story. Who better than you for today's talk? Thanks a lot for pitching in today.
Thank you, Smita. And if you can keep it as Sunitha, because when the minute you say friend,
okay.
All the prefixes and suffixes just, fall out.
Yes. Well, Sunitha, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay. When you have lived 50 good years, there are layers of stories to tell. So maybe if you ask me based on what would be most beneficial from a point of view of me sharing that with the kind of audience that you have generated, that would be really nice. So which aspects of me would you like me to bring to the forefront?
Well, maybe your work, your leadership, however you dealt with certain situations in life, the challenging situations as a woman. How did you balance your work, your house so well? And for whatever position you have today, I mean, being a leader, how was your journey till today?
Life has been extremely kind. I think that is where I want to start that journey, because the more I have, progressed either as a person or as a professional or with age, the gratitude with which I have looked at my own life gives me all the energy to look back, learn, and then keep looking forward and moving forward. So that is that space with which I want to start. The wind screen of gratitude that I use for my life.
Yes.
Now, sitting back and saying, you asked me about my leadership or profession, etc. So when I look at the profession again, I did not come from a background where women were given the space and time to educate themselves to the extent that my father did. So thanks to the fact that he kept pushing me and made sure that I was the only child, there were literally no other distractions for him when he was raising me. I think that is where that journey starts. So I don't look at that journey where there was a blueprint of some kind, nor was it a journey where I was heading towards leadership, nor was it a journey where I knew what was next. Not that anybody knows what is next. Everybody goes through with which door open at that point of time.
Yes.
But then if at 21, when I started the journey, if I knew a little bit more about, where it was heading, a lot of things could have been so much easier on me. This has nothing to do with the outcomes. This has nothing to do with anything else. So it was a very no blueprint journey. It was about utilizing every opportunity that came that way and working with my strengths. So the word leadership somewhere in my head and heart doesn't fit my journey. I have always been a team member wherever I have been. The fact that the circles of influence have grown is a different concept.
Yes.
And the fact that I don't see leadership as a pyramid where you're climbing it like a mountain and then you're starting from the base and you're reaching at the top. I think that's what we are all somehow taught, whether it is told to you directly or whether you kind of absorb that from people around you. You always feel, okay, you start at the bottom of the ladder, you keep climbing up the ladder, you get to become the leader. I think that is where I would like to, at 50, focus on the fact that a lot of times I realized that I was stepping sideways. I was stepping back, either because the situation didn't allow or because I was voluntarily doing it in order to keep some kind of of a balance. Otherwise, gender plays a major role in all of this.
Yes.
So
True.
when you're stepping back and stepping sideways, sometimes you're going around the mountain.
True.
And then getting to certain points. So for me, that will not be what sits comfortably. What sits more comfortably is becoming the reliable team member, becoming that dependable person where somebody phones and says, all right, we need this done. Can you get this organized? And then when you get that organized, and everybody is there on that call, and then you are the one who takes the notes. And then once they leave, you get the job done. So who are you going to call the leader? The person who calls you and says, can we work on this? And I'm like, yes. Can you get this done? I'm like, yes. And then I call all the others who need to be available to get that done. And then once they all leave from the meeting, I get the first draft of something that we need done.
Yes.
But during the meeting, when the others are there, we all know who are they talking to. They're not talking to me. Because of the dynamics, right?
Yes.
Now, in that situation, who is the leader?
Yes.
Is it the person who gave me that initial call, who is surely a little bit above on that ladder? Or is it me who gets that done, wraps it up, wops it up, picks it up, shoulders it, and then there's a first draft, and then we all then come back and then we modify it. So that is where it becomes tricky, where leader does not mean that one single person who leads all the time. For me, it is being the team member where you constantly understand the dynamics of humans, you constantly understand the environment in which you're working, and you constantly know how to make your strengths add to that. So that has always been my thing. So that part of refining my own thinking, my own doing, could have been a lot different and better if I knew this definition early on.
Oh yes.
So when you talk about leadership, that's what comes to mind. So where did that journey go? Okay, fine. If you look at it from a sense of the ladders, okay, I started as an academic. Then I moved to Karnataka State Pharmacy Council, and I was the deputy director there for the first drug information center in the country. And then it was the start of the India WHO Essential Medicines Program, where it was a history in the country that it was being led by a pharmacist, by a woman, and based in the Pharmacy Council. So that was one of the most wonderful learning factors of life, where it was not based on the fact that I had a public health background or I was a clinician. It was a very different angle from which I was coming.
True.
And still able to learn and implement at the same time, only because of the people that at that point the universe was putting into that circle.
Yes.
So it was all the people and everyone coming together that made it happen. Okay. After that phase came the phase of leaving the country and going to South Africa and starting off as an associate professor. And then that ladder of 14 years and then leaving it as a full professor and returning to India. So that has been
full circle.
It's a full circle.
Yes.
So in that full circle, when you go with the faith and with the hope that you are taking your best into this world, and somehow the world will look after you. I think a whole lot of that was what groomed me throughout those processes and started making me understand, all right, what are my strengths? How do I complement? How do I supplement people? And how do I make sure that that common vision remains completely the single goal towards which everybody moves, rather than allowing petty politics or little irritating things to become the way forward.
Yes.
So I think those were the ladders, and I've also told you what was the process which I had started, and now what is that extremely contentment centered space that I'm at. About leadership.
Yes.
So now over to you, Smita, to
I mean,
navigate which parts you want.
Yes, true. Coming back to your whole journey, do you think you're successful? Do you think you found that happiness? You said contentment. So, how do you define success? How do you define happiness?
All right. For me, a success when I started at 21 was all those designations, those badges that you want to collect,
True.
the degrees that you want to work towards,
Mhm.
the pat on the back that you expect from somebody else,
Yes.
and the reaffirmation that you are good.
Mm.
And then I started realizing only, later on in life that
Mm.
that's not success,
Mm.
because with that there was partial contentment, but that contentment only came
Mhm.
when I started realizing that how the world defines success is all about, there is a badge giver and there's a
Mhm.
badge receiver.
Correct.
As long as you keep receiving the badges,
Mhm.
there is also the danger that when the success goes to your head and the
Mm.
failure goes to your heart,
True.
then you become this extremely confused human,
True.
because the success in the head leads first to pride and
Mhm.
then to arrogance very quickly,
Mhm.
because the gray areas between the two
Mhm.
sometimes is not all that demarcated. It's so
Exactly.
easy to think I am an expert instead of
Mhm.
thinking I have accumulated these experiences.
Mhm. True.
Whereas when
Yes.
you when one lets failure go to the heart, it
Mhm.
almost makes you feel that you have to break down completely,
Mm.
and then you have to rebuild yourself, rather than saying that that's just an event.
Mm.
That's not the start or the end of anything in life. And like
Exactly.
my father kept reminding me, what
Mhm.
one failure teaches you, 100 success doesn't teach you.
That is so true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So keeping all of that in the background,
Mhm.
how do I define success? For me, at 21, that was success. The degrees, the designations, the pat on the back, the awards, the
Mhm.
recognitions.
Mm.
Now, success for me is that absolutely warm, fuzzy, priceless feeling,
Mm.
and it has
Mm.
nothing to do with affirmation from another individual.
Mhm.
It is to
Yes.
do with, what does your compass deep inside you, where you can't lie, tell you.
Yes.
Do you
Mm.
feel good? Yes. Do you feel contented? Very much so.
Mhm.
Do you feel there's a lot more to be done? Yes, there
Mhm.
are several miles to still be, crossed.
Mhm.
So I think contentment is where I'm heading at this point. So
Mm.
success is part forgotten, and
Mhm.
possibly that's the simplest reason why it was easy to step down from the ladders at this point, which I did
Correct.
about 3 years ago,
Yes.
and to say that I'm not on any of those ladders, because when I'm
Mhm.
not on a ladder,
Mhm.
I don't have anything territorial. I
Mm.
have nothing to protect,
Correct.
because the minute you're on the ladder and you
Mhm.
have a designation and you have to protect something, who
Mhm.
you are and what you become is completely different, because then the situation demands what you are supposed to be doing. But when
Exactly.
you get off the ladder,
Mhm. You're
it's
much more
different.
free
Then,
spirited than you. Yeah. You don't
because
have to
now,
sit in the framework of, yes, what is right, what is wrong,
yeah,
being judged by other people, getting
yeah,
validations from other people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one is validation. The second thing is,
Mhm.
now you become a connector,
Mm.
because then and that's how the universe also plays out. I think it's only
Yes.
when I stepped off
Mhm.
that the universe started manifesting in a completely different way,
Mhm.
where things that I never thought I would be doing, things that I
Mm.
never thought I would, even, those opportunities would come to me when you step off the ladder.
Mhm.
Those are the ones coming by themselves. I'm
Mm.
not going in search of it.
True.
Whereas in those 27 years,
Mhm.
I was the one actively seeking it out.
Mm. True.
It was not the other way around. Now that
Yes.
there is no ladder
Mm.
and I've stepped down and I'm absolutely grounded and close to Mother Earth, I
Mhm.
think I'm not seeking it out. Things are coming
Mm.
to me. So
Mm.
it is so much easier on oneself and so much easier for everyone around when we step aside from
Mhm.
how we are raised to look at success.
Correct. Oh my God, that's such a profound answer. There's so much hidden in whatever you're talking. So people who want to understand, they will definitely understand as to what exactly success and happiness mean. Well, in your journey, you said that you saw leadership or you saw success while you're climbing the mountain sideways. So, can I ask you, what were the hurdles? What were the challenges? What were the difficulties when you felt, oh God, how do I get over this? Because there are so many women who are there right now in that position, in that, possible uh, designation or possible state of happiness, so called. But how do we maintain it? Having the fact that there are so many obstacles and hurdles that can come to disturb this.
So, as a professional, when you're looking at what you need to be doing, whether it's a man or a woman, the challenges are exactly the same or similar. Okay, let's not be idealistic here. The challenges are similar.
Similar, yes.
So from the professional angle, it doesn't change a lot. But from the gender angle, it starts changing after a point, whether you belong in a patriarchal society or you belong in a society where patriarchy is slightly more flexible and therefore more manageable. So, so gender and gender roles then start becoming the major hurdle. So that is the first thing to bear in mind. So where that imbalance starts is it starts with the gender role and the expectations of those roles. Now, the other thing that is very interesting is in all of these interactions, generally women become women's own enemies. And I know I'm borrowing that statement from my husband because what happens is, whether it is inside the family, especially, the patriarchy is not about what men articulate. It's about what women maintain, what the older women maintain, and then fix you and beat you into shape for you to carry it on.
True.
So that's how patriarchy inside the house gets maintained. And not knowing how to negotiate that, not knowing how to understand that, not understanding that this is not about you. Anybody in your place will have to go through this. So that negotiation has to start becoming different. Now, when you don't know how to do it, that's one part of the problem. But when you don't even recognize it, where does the problem solving start? So problem solving didn't even start for decades for me, because I didn't understand where was the problem.
I think most women have the same phase of thought processing as to how do I acknowledge and recognize where the problem is.
So that is where, I could have been different and better and made it easier for myself. This is not about, like I said earlier, this is not about the outcomes that were achieved. The outcomes were somehow achieved, but it could have been achieved with less health issues. It could have been achieved with less heartaches. It could have been achieved with less stress. It could have been achieved with conscious problem solving. But again, all that is only possible when you have the time and space. And again, that is also possible when it is not just the physical constraints that you feel, but the emotional liberating spaces that you experience. So in my case, yes, so that is where it was, the recognizing where and what needs to be done took far too long. And by that time, the trips of guilt that you go through for being an inadequate everything, inadequate mother, inadequate wife, inadequate daughter-in-law, inadequate daughter, what are you left with? So the energy that you're left with when you go to work is literally like nothing. And then when you go to work, then you have to prep yourself for a different kind of dynamics that plays out, where when you're at work, it's literally like you didn't do anything from 3:30 in the morning till 9 in the morning until you get to work. It's like you were just a pretty rose lying there, getting all the rest that you need, and now you're ready for the day. And then you go through the 9 to 5, and then you get back home, When you get back, it's literally like, well, you didn't go to work, or rather you went because you want to be there. So then you get back and just, so this constant treadmill.
Yes, true.
Takes away the best part of your health, the best part of your age, and the best part of your looks.
True.
So when a woman starts losing health, age, and looks, then it's also a matter of what is she left with. So I think this is where, at least for those of us who made it this far in the journey, it is not, sometimes, whenever people look at my CV and say, oh my God, I'm like, no, that is the sore point of my life. Whenever I see my CV, it brings tears to my eyes. The reason is because it does not show the full potential of what I could have been if I had the total freedom to decide everything I wanted to do. This is what I could achieve while playing all the other roles that were required, expected, taken on, you name it, all of it. All of us know what I'm talking about. I don't have to articulate it different and better.
Correct.
So I think going forward, if we want things to improve, especially in the context where if India has fallen 28 points in 1 year in the gender gap report during the COVID, and the biggest of that fall is for urban women. And the biggest of that fall, when I say urban women, these are women who had opportunities to educate themselves, to have jobs, to have careers. If that is the category of women that are now getting off all of those ladders, I don't know how as a society we are going to progress.
It's
on one side, we have the pandemic. And, in general, everything is shrinking from hope to economy. And then now, 28 points in 1 year, when the gender gap report shows you that, and you then still want the playing fields to be leveled, what are we even talking of? So certain things have to change in our own dynamics, and more often than not, we become our own enemies.
Yes.
So just coming to terms with yourself and saying, I don't have to be a superwoman. I'm not a Marvel hero. I'm just another person on this planet.
Yes.
I don't have to.
Thank you for telling that.
All the badges.
Yes. As a woman coming from you to other women, it's very important because they fit in so much in their plates as to it's already full, but still they want to push a lot more of what they can or they can't, and they push themselves so much that eventually they have to completely take a break. So yes,
so those breaks are good. So where I understood the significance of that break is when I went to Rhodes University. What that country and what that place and what that organization gave me, I will forever remain indebted. For every year of work that I did as an academic, which when I look in retrospect to what I had to do in India for the 9 years before I got there, I had a lot of breathing space and time. There are 4 semesters. Between each semester, you have the time to breathe. Sure, you're doing other things, but you're not doing the same things. So the other things could be, okay, you're marking 250 scripts, but then that's it. You're not going for lectures, you're not going for meetings, you're not doing the admin, you're sorting out something else. Or you could be focusing on research if that particular semester you have finished, you don't have the teaching and you can focus on research. So you're getting your papers done, you're sorting out your master's students, you're sorting out your own things for presentations, etc.
Yes.
Space and time, constantly. I keep coming back to those 2 words. So when the environment gives you that, then you start to understand, all right, you're able to function better because of that space and time. It's not the monotony of wake up every day to be the puppet in the system. Yes. When the work changes and the intensity changes on a daily basis, your ability to resonate improves.
True.
And you're resonating at a higher level. You're not resonating at that, okay, status quo, let me just get through today, or let me just get through this week. You're not doing that. And then the sabbatical was the first break in the year 2008. And as destiny would have it, it was also in that year that I got that piece of paper I was dying for, which was the PhD. And it was also in the same year I read the book Synchrodestiny, which added total value to my perceptions of me and my space under the sun. Most important, it was also the year when I got that golden opportunity to go as a consultant to the World Health Organization in Geneva and work for 3 months. So that was a dream come true, for the rest of my life. It was not a dream come true for that age at that moment in 2008. Even up to the last point of my life, if
those
somebody
defining
asked me,
moments, I think, yes.
So that is it. So that also happened in 2008. And when I finished that and I took the flight back from Geneva to Port Elizabeth and back into Grahamstown where I lived, I think that space and time of, okay, all right, now here I am, now what? I had never gotten to that point at any stage until that point, because it was just the treadmill. You are not getting off the treadmill.
Correct.
If you don't get off the treadmill, if you don't reduce the speed, if you don't change the scene, if you don't think different, if you don't catch your breath,
it just
the treadmill loses its value.
Yeah, true.
So the whole purpose with which you started, you're diluting your own purpose. So it is self-defeating. And the reason to focus on health, that was the first time, because when you go to the World Health Organization, the first thing you realize is, have I focused on my own health?
Yeah. Yes.
Because then you go back and look at what is the definition of health. Health is not absence of disease.
I know. Oh God, yes. That's what we've
Just
been
because
learning.
your body is not showing symptoms of something and you're not popping pills on a daily basis, health is not absence of disease. Health is that absolutely different state of mind. And health is also that balance between your body, mind and soul.
Yes, spiritual.
So if you're just feeding one side of it and taking away all the energy from the other sides, and you're not replenishing it, you're not nurturing it, you are not giving yourself the space to be healthy in a complete manner.
Correct. Yes.
Then what you want to achieve, first of all, you will drop your standards, and secondly, your body and mind and soul are not synchronized enough and going in that same direction to get it done.
Correct. Yes.
So that mismatch causes more frustration and more gaps. So just getting that bit of understanding, it took me so long, and then you look back and think, God, I wish I understood this earlier.
Yeah, but there are some things, with experience. So it is
the
what
knocks
it is
in your life.
Exactly. Yes, so true.
Yeah.
Well, Sunitha, coming to rejections, well, even in my family or my friend circle for that matter, they do say that, oh, it's too difficult to get there, or can you do it, or are you confident, things like that. Well, I'm sure even in your career, there will be situations where people would have told, is this idea even going to work? The questions like that. So how do you deal with rejections, and what advice do you give to young women, young girls, young generation out there to deal with rejections in a better way?
First of all, at this point in my life, how to deal with rejection is not just important for the young women, young girls, and the next generation. It's possibly most important during menopause for a woman in her 50s. To just simply accept somebody else's opinion or power play or whatever it is that is being used there. Just accept it, Don't fight back immediately. There is a time to fight, choose your battles. That is what I've understood at this point.
Yes.
Everything is not worth picking up all the arms that you have and fighting it out. Certain things are just not worth it at all. Don't even pick up that battle, just empty the arena and say, the battlefield is yours, you have won, please carry on, and I will also carry on. For other things which are worth it, yes, pick it up. For certain extremely priceless things, don't budge. Dig your heels and stay there. So just knowing the difference between which battles are worth not picking up, which battles are worth picking up but having to retreat just to recover, re-equip, and then come back, and which battles are worth it where you don't drop your anything, either your energy or your focus or whatever you're dealing with. You just continue till you get that. So just that distinction helps a lot. Rejections, off late, not off late, for quite some years now, I have always brought in my critics in my last slide that says thank you. I thank my family, I thank my mentors, I thank my well-wishers. I put on everything, friends, whatever, I put on everyone. But the last line is always reserved for the critics. And that is the most important line. If I did not have critics, if I did not have people who questioned me, if I did not have people who doubted me, if I did not have people who criticized me, if I did not have people who humiliated me, would I be here? Definitely not. If this world was surrounded by people who were the likes of my father, I would have been a spoiled, arrogant idiot. This world has everyone.
True. But the question is, I totally understand, you're telling me that people who are, who kind of questioned you, who humiliated you, who embarrassed you. But how did you take that embarrassment to your side? And how did you transform that into your strength? Because many people wouldn't be able to do it. If somebody say, oh, your idea doesn't work, there are people who just take that in so much, absorb it in so much that they lose it. So how did you kind of change that into your game?
I think when I think back, people in my family always said, you're a stubborn mule. And I would always think I'm a stubborn mule, which means I'm bad. And then I started realizing, no, I'm determined. Why did you even call me a stubborn mule? I'm determined. If I want something and I believe in it, I just go after it. So it is understanding the nuances with which people tell you something and make and pull you down and bring you down, and they want to even break you down, versus you understanding your own strengths and saying, being a stubborn mule does not mean you're a bad person. It just means you see things in a different way.
Exactly. Yes.
So how did so that was the starting point, when being a stubborn mule got changed in my dictionary. I have a different thesaurus in my head.
Oh, good.
So
it's required. Yeah.
So being a stubborn mule became being determined. So everything, at one point it is like, oh, other than your children, there's nothing more important on this planet. And at that point I was like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person. And now I'm like, I am unashamed about my children's priority being the only priority of my life. If it doesn't work for my children, especially my 9-year-old, it doesn't work for me.
Oh,
simple.
Yes.
Do I need to justify it? No, I don't have to. Is that making me a bad everything? Your opinion. But to get to that point, it's okay. I mean, you can have your opinion, and maybe it is right. Maybe I'm wrong. That's okay. That is also okay. But if this is for the betterment of my 9-year-old, I will do it. That's it. That is the only accountability that I'm left with at this point in my life.
True.
But did I get there from my 23rd to my 50th just like that overnight? I was stupid. Simple and straight. So it's only your stupidity that becomes everything else. You go through that cycle of guilt, frustration, anger, you name it and you don't name it, and then you get out of it, and then you sit down and think back, what a waste of time and energy. So changing it to my strength was finding out what is priceless in my life
Mm-hmm.
and what is a price I'm prepared to pay for it.
Maybe the right
So
thing
if
what you told was priorities. Your priorities are right now, and you can compromise certain things and you cannot compromise certain things. Maybe there's a lot of clarity that is required to get where you are.
yeah, and please bear in mind that I had to become comfortable with the fact that there is no right and there is no wrong,
True.
and there are no 50 shades of gray in between.
My God, yes.
It is, it is, does this work? Is this feasible? Is it harming anyone? Those are the right and the better questions to ask. Most important in that question should be your own equation. Is this harming me?
Correct.
So on the day I dropped my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, to school in South Africa when we moved countries, I looked at her and I said, anything that hurts your body, mind, and soul is not worth it. She's 25 now. She repeats this to me even to this day. She said that one statement at the age of 7 has made all the difference, because she has shared that with all her friends, all of all her circle, and she always goes back to that statement. Anything that hurts your body, mind, and soul is not worth it. Now, if I knew that statement from the start of my journey, and if I knew that what I told my daughter is also applicable to me,
correct,
the journey would have been different.
Yeah, true.
Different
Maybe
in the sense
journey
for me.
should have been like this. It was destined to be like this. Yeah, and
I don't know. What am I proving? My stupidity? I don't know. Does
not
it take so long
everybody
to
can
enter
take.
the skull?
Yeah, not everybody can embrace the stupidity or whatever. The journey you went through, like so well, like you. So maybe you have to take the credit there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a soothing point. And somewhere down the line, you need those badges.
True.
We are humans, because the recent badge came from a very dear friend after a particular meeting, and I was raging inside because it was not going the way it wanted, or we had planned, or the outcomes that we wanted. And the next day when I hear something like, no, it was not a futile meeting.
True.
One statement, it was not a futile meeting. And the entire perception changed in my head.
Correct.
So the power of words, I think that is where we need to, if at all we are taking something away from this entire conversation, including for me as an individual, it's the power of words. Our words have that power to make something different, better, easier, and kinder for the other person.
100%. I totally believe this. Yes.
Or we can just make that person's present and future equally miserable.
True.
Same, it's the same power of words, but how we have used it. It could be the tone, it could be the choice of words, it is the way we express it, and the intentions with which we express it.
True. That is so true. Sunitha, coming back to our conversation, well, what advice would you want to give to parents, maybe parents of young children and also teenage children, as to how should they find the balance between freedom and discipline? How much freedom is too much freedom? How much discipline is too much discipline? Where is the balance?
I don't know if I have advice for others. I can only share what worked for me and my daughter. How much freedom is too much freedom? I don't know, because I was raised with no sense of freedom by a mother who didn't believe in those words, and by a dad who did exactly the opposite. So I was in this very confused space where my dad was well ahead of his time as a feminist, but I had never heard the word feminist from him. Nor had I heard it in India until I was in India. It took me all of going to South Africa to hear that word feminism, and I'm like, huh? What is that now?
Yeah.
But I had been raised with this complete, but when I started raising my daughter, She was less than a year old when after her bath, though I would lay out 3 frocks after her bath and I say, point the one you want to wear.
Wow.
How much of freedom is good? I don't know. But are we all not free living humans and we should not be learning to be free living humans? Yes, we should be. Where do you draw the line? Again, I think it is case by case. It depends on, thankfully, my daughter didn't let me go through her teenage tantrums or being very difficult. At one point, I still remember, she wanted to wear spaghetti tops and hot pants. She was about 12 or 14 years old at that point. So she just pestered us and we went to the store. And I was very nervous. So my husband said, okay, wait here. He gave the wallet into her hand and he said, we both are going to wait here. You can go pick up what you want, pay for it and come back.
Wow.
That was a leap of faith. I wouldn't take it.
Exactly.
And
I can imagine her face. Oh God.
So she went in, she came back with the wallet and empty-handed.
Oh, wow. That's super
So
strange.
sometimes it is super strange. So sometimes it's also about, what they put you through or what you put them through. It's not an easy, one size fits all. And
but the more we hold back, the more they want to explore. Even as kids, the more my parents said, no, don't do that. No, don't do this. Don't go there. Don't wear this. Don't. That's like, what's going to happen if I wear it? Or what's going to happen if I go there? Why shouldn't I come late? It's like kind of a rebellious attitude.
Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. Where do you stop it again is very difficult, and how do you stop it is again very difficult. I think it's a very strange, funny equation that keeps changing as kids grow up and as parents we grow up with them. But the best compliment I've received from my daughter so far is she says, "Ma, you're 25 years old in Shraddha years and you're 9 years old in Sama years." So Shraddha is my daughter and Sama is my son.
Oh, yes.
Which means I'm 25 years old because she's 25. So which means I grew up with her.
With her, yeah.
And now I'm growing up with Samai. So I'm 9 years in Samai years.
Oh, wow.
I think that for me summed it up extremely well, because when you grow with your children, rather than keep a photograph when they were 12 years old and admire it, because they are not 12. She is not 12. She's 25. She is not going to listen to a whole lot of things now that she did at 12.
Yes.
So what you do, how you say, how you get along changes. So just, I think that sentence summed it up for me about my parenting style.
Yes.
I did not go ahead of them consciously, nor was I pulling them back.
True.
As they grow, I grow with them. And the other thing that summed it up very well, when my daughter again pointed it out, because right now she is my Chanakya of life.
Wow, that's so good to hear.
It is extremely important. So whether it is career advice, whether it is personal advice, emotional advice, I go to her. Wow. So at one point she said, the reason we were always on the same page is because if the path she was taking was different from the path I was taking, I would drop my path and get into her path. So I think that's the other thing that she has told me, which now on reflecting at 50, I understand different and better. I didn't understand when I was doing it. I just wanted to be with her, whichever way it is, and not make her feel that, okay, you're going there, but I'm going there. So as long as we are on the same page, wherever you go, we go. And the other thing that also comes to my mind is, I've always told Shraddha that, whatever experiments you need to do it while I'm alive, because when something falls apart or you fail miserably in that, and you need to pick yourself up, you need a safety net. You need a safety net where somebody doesn't come and tell you, see, I told you so. That's not what that person wants to hear at that point. You need a safety net that says, I may have opinions in my head, but I'm not going to use words and judge you and say you were bad, you were wrong, you shouldn't have done this. It's done and over. No point crying over spilt milk. Now look at what you can do going forward. So you will have that person in me always. But after I'm gone, be more careful about your decisions. Don't just experiment for the heck of experimenting. Finish experiments while I'm around. So I think that is a third thing that has worked for me. So these are the examples that I can give where there are no gold standards. How much of freedom do you need to give? Well, we are all born free. How much do you hold back? How many shackles do you want that person to have when they grow up? Because at the end of the day, I heard this very nice experiment about elephants where they're only tied with a rope, nothing else. But they just stay there. Why do they stay there? Because from the time they were young, it was just a rope that was used, not chains.
Correct.
A grown-up elephant can break that rope in 10 seconds. But why does it stay there? Because it is an emotional, mental shackle.
Yes, correct. Mental shackle.
You think that's it? You know, if there's a rope, it means I have to be here. So how many ropes do we want to have on our next generation? So we need to also reflect on that.
Yes.
Are we raising our children as trophies to hold up and tell the world, see how well I raised my child, see how successful my child is, see how few mistakes my child makes, see my child got married to a person of my choice? Is that what we are raising our children for? Or are we raising them to become problem solvers for themselves and the society around them, and be people who add value?
True.
So if they're not your trophy, then I think your job is not to either define the what should I say?
Your
define
expectations. True. On. Okay. There are so many parents. You know, I was in teaching. Many parents. It's amazing to talk to them, and then they say that since I couldn't become a doctor, I want my child to become a doctor. I want my son to become a cricketer. I want my daughter to be a swimmer because I couldn't do it. Then did you even ask the child, or do you know what the child wants? Well, it's so important to understand the art of parenting. You know, otherwise it's more of damage to children than encouraging, I feel. Yeah. Well,
because when they are not children anymore, I'll just end that. Sorry.
Sure.
So this again something my daughter told me a long time ago. She gave the example of a mentor in that story, but I'll change it to a parent. A kind parent makes a kind parent. So if you have been raised by a kind parent,
true. That's so true.
You end up becoming a kind parent because that's the norm. So for me, I think it will still go back to my dad, my late father. It will always be him. The fact that it is 20 years since he's gone doesn't mean anything, because everything he had told me until that point of time is what keeps me going to this second. And it is what I keep sharing with everybody else consistently and say, oh, well, my dad said this and it makes a lot of sense. Or, you know, I see it happen in my life. So I think a kind parent raises a kind parent.
Yes, very, very well said, Sunitha. You did say that your dad has been such an inspiration to you. Where else do you seek your inspiration from, apart from your children? Maybe, you know, some books or some authors, or how do you seek your inspiration and from where?
I think whatever life was very kind to offer to me, I seek it from every corner and every human that comes in my life. So I learn from everyone. From certain people, I learn what I should do, how I should do it, how I should aspire to become that that aspect of that person getting integrated into my personality. And there are others who teach me what I should never bring into my thinking and being. So that is also inspiration for me, because it tells me which wolf do you feed, you know. So that's constantly happening in the head. So who inspires me? Everyone inspires me, because every single human that crosses my path teaches me something that I want to learn better.
Mm.
So everyone inspires me. What else inspires me is nature in general. A flower blossoming in the garden, a squirrel looking for food. Every little thing, it's
Yes.
nothing is. It's all about not leaving anything go unnoticed.
True. I mean to say, you don't need
Especially the little
exorbitant
things.
or luxurious things to be inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little things, whatever you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. Because for the big things, we all do it anyway. But it's the little things.
Yes, that is so true. Well, Sunitha, the last question for today's talk would be, what are your 3 rules or golden rules which you followed in life to be successful, to be happy, to be content, to be satisfied? So, could you share that with us?
Absolutely. One is definitely counting the blessings.
Mhm.
It's so much easier to lose track of everything that is not there or can't be there.
Mm.
But it is going to be more mindful to start counting your blessings to start your day with. So I think from several decades, without my knowledge, I was doing it. I was not doing it mindfully. I was doing it just because it felt good. It felt right. But now it is a very mindful thing that I do first thing in the morning and last thing at night. So counting my blessings is where it starts. And the more I have counted my blessings, the people who enter the inner circle of my life, the quality of those people has changed exponentially. It has just gotten so much better when I am not seeking out, when they are coming rather than me seeking them out. The second thing for me that has worked extremely well is understanding the difference between, I had said this earlier, understanding the difference between what is priceless and what will remain non-negotiable in my life, and what are the prices I'm prepared to pay for other things. Just knowing that difference. And recently I heard Madhuri Dixit say this. She said, hold your loved ones closer than ever now. So especially during a pandemic. So I think I just have another additional thing for myself. It is hold your loved ones and the ideals of your life closer than ever, because we don't know how much time we are left with. We always knew that the only thing that is true in life is death. We knew that.
We knew that.
We all knew that.
To anticipate it this
COVID,
way, it's very intimidating.
Yeah. So for me, COVID is something that if we learn from, we will come out better and stronger. Because COVID is shining a light on everything that we have done wrong until this point of time.
Yes.
Look at it from an angle of healthcare sector. It is shining the light that we didn't put enough energy into the primary healthcare sector. We didn't put enough energy into disease prevention and health promotion. We just kept telling, if you have a disease, you need to treat it. Now, for 1.3 billion people, how many times will you test them? The test that I got done today, the result will come, let's say, 2 days from now. In that meantime, what if I get infected? Is my test result saying anything about me? No. Is that test result good for the rest of my life? Surely not.
Not. Yes.
So how much of testing will we do? How much of hospitals will be built? How many oxygen cylinders do we ultimately need for 1.3 billion people? It's a disease that can be prevented. Why are we struggling? It's a novel virus. We may not know everything, but don't we know how to prevent it? We know that.
I think we have taken too much for granted. I mean,
entitlement, our arrogance is led us here.
Yes.
So it's like, we wear a helmet for the police. We're not wearing it for our safety.
No. Yeah.
Now we wear our mask as a chin diaper and not as a mask that goes from the nose to the chin, right? So it is because, if the police come, then the mask should be there somewhere dangling.
Exactly.
It is not that if I am the super spreader, then I'm spreading to others, or if there's a super spreader walking next to me, I'm inhaling it. That thought, that connection is not made. Yes. And if that is not being made in the middle class, which is the educated class, how do you expect that connection to be made elsewhere?
It's very difficult.
So something is totally wrong, so yeah, so those ideals, holding it closer, I think is very important. um, the last something connected to that which I don't want to miss out is, I know every country, every philosophy has this in different ways, but having invested 14 years in South Africa, the Ubuntu principle of I am because we are. So at the moment, COVID anywhere is COVID everywhere.
True.
COVID started at Wuhan, but in Mysore, why am I so afraid?
Oh God, yes.
Right? So it didn't take long for it to reach everywhere. All countries are dealing with the same issue, but some countries more than others. Which are the countries where they're dealing it more than others? Where I am because we are, if we dilute it, we will deal with it for a longer span of time and see waves after waves, because we don't see the connection between prevention and the fact that, I should not, my choices, my entitlement, my convenience should not be the reason.
Yes, should not be the reason.
Not might, it is who is paying the price. The doctors, the nurses, the essential service providers, they're paying with their lives. This is not what they signed up for.
Yes.
The doctor in the ICU did not sign up to save my life and put his or her life at risk.
Yes.
And put the children and the spouse at risk. The nurse who is wearing that PPE and wearing 8 hours and 10-hour shift. The death and dying that she is seeing, whether she's menstruating, pregnant, or breastfeeding, she has to wear that PPE. So if our mask can't go above the nose because we feel breathless, how is that woman supposed to work there? What are we thinking?
Exactly.
What are we thinking? So I don't know, I think we should have another conversation only for this particular aspect.
Yes, I was just about to tell that.
Yeah, thank you. I think, that's where, the I am because we are. If we can talk about that and say, why are we struggling as a country with so much of dearth of everything? Because we have exhausted it mindlessly.
True.
And it is not up to doctors, nurses, ambulance drivers, ward boys, police, and every essential service provider to go through this for 14 months without a break. They are humans.
True.
You can't get up and work with death and dying on such a massive rate. They are humans.
Yes.
And what are we doing as civilians and citizens? We have a role to play. Are we playing our role is a question. It is so easy to use the index finger and keep saying government should do this, he should do that, that person should do this. 3 fingers are at me.
Exactly.
What am I doing is a question.
Yes.
So yeah, so holding your idols closer than ever, I think this is a very good time to reflect on it, because COVID is a piece of genetic material that is lifeless, can't move on its own. Nothing can happen without we who are doing everything. We are transmitting it, we are moving it, we are aggravating it, everything we are doing it.
Yes.
So it is ours to lose. And the third one is follow your heart, because the compass is in the heart. When you follow your mind, the mind can be swayed depending on who gives you advice, what kind of advice they give you, what is your likability factor towards that person. Whatever they say, your mind will sway to that. But your heart and your gut somehow knows.
Yes. That inner voice or whatever you call that. Yeah. Sometimes it's so loud, even if you want to do something.
You can't silence it.
You cannot.
And you should never silence it.
Exactly.
The whole idea is don't silence it. So give it. So the time and space I was talking about, I think that gut feeling needs the time and space.
True.
If we don't silence the gut feeling, it will tell us where to go. There are no crossroads in life, if you ask me. There are definitely no crossroads in life. You know which path to take because you can sense it.
You pretty much, you can sense it, and you will be guided through. If you listen, you will be guided through. Yeah. I think, personally, I don't want to end this conversation because it's so
Not me.
nice talking to you, Sunitha. I'm extremely humbled and honored and also blessed to have you talk in Maithreya, because I know today, Maithreya has reached the next level, the next platform. Thank you so much for coming in. It was a very, very insightful conversation with you. A lot of factors, a lot of aspects that we spoke upon. Also, would look forward to more podcasts with you relating to other subjects too. Thank you so much for coming in today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Smita, and let it bring all the abundance that it should to all of us in every possible way, for your program, for you, for the viewers, and just that goodwill and well-being.
Yes.
So take care and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.